Survive This Lake County Emergency Resilience event held April 26, 2026 at Two Harbors High School drew strong public participation and broad community support. Residents turned out in good numbers to connect with emergency professionals, elected officials, volunteers, and local organizations focused on preparedness, recovery, and long-term resilience. Representatives from emergency services and response agencies were on hand throughout the afternoon to share resources, answer questions, and offer practical information about facing disruption, recovering from disasters, and strengthening community connections. Participants visited with volunteers from the rescue squad, fire department, and ambulance service while enjoying food from the Rainy Rose food truck. Free NOAA weather radios were distributed by KTWH 99.5 FM, helping households improve access to timely emergency alerts. Elected officials spoke directly with residents about ideas and priorities for increasing resilience in the face of both natural and human-caused disasters. A series of speakers representing organizations across the region addressed specific community needs and response efforts from the stage. Public questions were invited and encouraged, creating space for discussion about gaps to address, partnerships to strengthen, and ways residents can support ongoing preparedness efforts. This event was brought to Two Harbors High School by the Lake County Press, KTWH, and Lake County Emergency Management with the support of the Mortensen Family Foundation and the University of Minnesota Foundation.
All right, we're live. Welcome, everyone. I am Kitty Mayo, the editor of the Lake County Press. Thank you so much for being here today. A small but enthusiastic crowd. Aw. All right, I'm going to read this. I like to not read things, but you'll see why I need to today. We're going to hear from several people. Each will have about 5 minutes to introduce themselves, share their role in the community, and offer a brief, meaningful message until I start frantically waving them off the stage. At the end, we'll do a lightning round of audience questions, so be ready. If you have a question at the end, I'll find you with the microphone, and you can ask the question of anyone in the room. Now for my story. Most people in Lake County know their neighbors by their gardens or their dogs. A few years back, my neighbors knew me by the sound of the sirens coming to my house. About 10 years ago, my grandson, Carrick, let's have Carrick, there's Carrick, and his family lived right here with me in Two Harbors. Carrick was vent dependent. For anyone who hasn't seen that up close, it means he lived with a mechanical ventilator, a machine that did the work of breathing for him. We called 911 more than once right here in Two Harbors when his breathing and his heart were struggling. Back then, I learned that emergency services isn't a government department. It's Bob, and it's Susan. It's the people who know exactly where your front door is. In a small town, your crisis is never anonymous. Eventually, Carrick and his family moved to Barnum. Now, if you don't find the humor in the chaos wins. I think I'll get a tattoo of that. In our family, you have to decide whether you're going to laugh or cry, and we usually choose to laugh. Carrick helped with that. He had a sense of timing that could get a little dark, and he thought it was funny. The street they lived on in Barnum happened to be the official lineup area where the floats and the marching band gathered before the parade started. One parade day, Carrick knew his siblings were heading out to the sidewalk to catch candy. He wanted to go too, but he was sick. I'm not saying he did this on purpose exactly, but just as the parade lineup clogged their street, and just as his brothers and sisters got ready to stake out their candy spots, Carrick's vitals started to drop into some truly scary places. His mom called 911. The ambulance wound its way through the crowds, lights flashing, sirens wailing, weaving between the marching band and the parade floats. By the time the ambulance crew wheeled Carrick out to the rig, he had perked up. He was smiling and looking around as though the parade had just gathered for him. He was in the parade. He was leading the parade. Those of us who knew Carrick thought, of course, leave it to him to turn a medical emergency into a civic event. We laughed. When the sirens finally went quiet last month, I realized something. On March 28, just a few weeks ago, Carrick died. The silence in his room at his mom's house is so loud, we're only beginning to learn how to live without him. Carrick was only with us for 25 years, but they were years packed with joy and love and so much more. He loved a crowd, loud music, boisterous, happy noise, lights, and action, and an incredible ability to bring out the best in the people around him. Carrick didn't survive those 25 years because of big city infrastructure. He survived because of a local web of people who knew what he needed. But resilience isn't just about being lucky enough to have a good neighbor. It's about having a system that's prepared for the scary stuff and the sad stuff. That's why we're talking about Survive This Lake County. In a small town, we are our own backup. When the power goes out, it isn't just an inconvenience for someone like Carrick. It's a countdown to his last breath. Resilience means knowing which house has a generator. It means training local volunteers to help without flinching. It means building a framework so emergency response isn't just reactive, but a community-wide promise. Carrick taught me that life is fragile, chaotic, and sometimes grimly funny. Let's honor the scary moments by being prepared. Let's honor the sad moments by staying connected. And let's honor Carrick by making sure Lake County is more resilient. So the next time a parade rolls down the street, the only thing we have to worry about is who's throwing the best candy. Thank you.
All right, everybody hear me okay? My name is Tim Loma, currently the Chief Deputy with the Lake County Sheriff's Office. First off, I'd like to thank you all for being here. Thank you for the event organizers for putting something like this together. I've been involved in EMS one way or another since 1998. Throughout the years, my roles have kind of evolved. Been through at least 3 major fires: the Pagami Creek Fire, Greenwood Lake Fire, Camp House Fire. Been through some floods and whatnot, but I think the biggest thing we can take away from that is we grow. We make mistakes, we learn from them. One of the biggest things that came out of the last incident was our evacuation zones. With those, we determined that we had such a great area that it was so hard to pinpoint those exact locations. So with the help of emergency management, we were able to kind of streamline those and dial them down to be more precise. Our area is kind of a unique challenge just because we're so rural. We don't have a lot of the resources like the big metro agencies do. That's where it's so important that we have to rely on the relationships we have with both our local, state, and federal agencies. Without all of us working together, we just couldn't do what we do. And it goes with our local volunteers too. The Sheriff's Office, I don't know why I'm getting feedback, but okay. The Sheriff's Office also runs the Volunteer Search and Rescue Squad. They assist us with, everything from medicals to search and rescue to recoveries and whatnot. So without those individuals, we wouldn't be able to do what we do either. We all have to work together to get this job done for the safety of everybody. Another thing that we learned was communication, but I'll leave that for Warren LaPlante, our emergency manager, to get a hold of that. I think another suggestion I could make is just be self-reliant, have those supplies in place. If we do have an incident or an emergency, it might take a little bit to get to you depending on where you're located. If there's issues with roads or, snow even, sometimes we gotta wait till the highway department can get plowed out to get people in. So just be aware of what you might need to survive for at least a day, maybe sooner, hopefully. But just keep that in the back of your mind. What do I need to do to keep myself safe? Like I say, I could go on and on about some of this stuff, but I think the key thing to take away is, if there's something that's bothering you or something you're concerned about, give our agency a call. If it's important enough for you to call, it's important for us to look into or follow up on. Do you mind if I cut her down a little early? All right, I think we'll close with that. Thanks for coming.
Good afternoon. My name is Warren LaPlante. I'm the somewhat new emergency manager for Lake County. My role is to coordinate the county's efforts for mitigation, preparedness, response, and recovery. I could go on all day what those mean. Kitty will not allow me to do that because I only got 4 minutes now. But if you have any questions on those, please reach out at any time. The Chief Deputy had mentioned our new evacuation zones, and that brings us into kind of the preparedness and the mitigation part. We rolled those out as some lessons learned, but the biggest part of that we want to take on is the next step in addition to those new evacuation zones, and he brought up communications. If you haven't signed up, please sign up for the county emergency alerts. That's how we're going to communicate that with you or to you directly. However you choose, if it's a cell phone, a text, a home phone, or an email, we'll be able to reach out to you. And depending on the situation, we'll be able to do some feedback from you if we do a polling. Are you in a safe location? Can we get to you? So multiple things that we can do with that very powerful tool. We're still in the process of reprogramming, but once it gets reprogrammed and updated, we're going to start validating all the contact information. That's why it's important for everybody to go into the system. If you haven't, see me in my booth afterwards, and then we can get you some information to get signed up for that. The only other thing that I want to kind of share is, since I've taken this role, kind of fits in the couple items that I've already spoke about, is one of my goals is communication. As you can see and hear, that's what we're already doing. We're working on that. The other part of that is community outreach. And this is a big part of the community outreach. I want to thank Kitty for reaching out to me when she received this grant. And I said, absolutely, I'm in. And I want to look at this as a launching point for us for more community events as we go forward, how we can help our residents help us from an emergency response perspective and be able to move forward on ensure all our residents are safe. My last ask of you, and kind of what the Chief Deputy has shared, is your readiness. Do what you can do for your readiness and reach out to us, and we can help you with that also. A lot of great information out there, a lot of great booths. Take advantage of the information that's being shared. So I appreciate that. Again, if you have anything, come see me at the booth. I'm willing to talk. So thank you very much.
Good afternoon. I'm John Kringle with KTWH LP Two Harbors Community Radio. The original plan was for Leo Bayview and myself to be up here, but due to circumstances beyond Leo's control, he could not be here today. So I am going to read for you what Leo would have told you. Maybe. There we go. KTWH is non-commercial community radio, licensed and operating since September of 2015 at 99.5 FM and on the web at ktwh.org. We are a volunteer-driven, and I'm going to touch on that in a little bit, we are a volunteer-driven, listener-supported nonprofit service. We're licensed as a low-power FM station with 100 watts of effective radiated power. On a good day, we get the signal out about 7 to 10 miles, depending upon what obstacles block our signal. The founding radio board wanted our local radio service to address information needs in Lake County. For instance, we could have been reporting the impact and closures and changing conditions of roads during and following the flood of 2012. We can do that now. KTWH's mission is to strengthen community by covering local news, events, and culture, telling local stories. We want to provide emergency alerts and critical, up-to-date response information. We did that during the pandemic, featuring health info from county public officials and the hospital. We covered the impacts of the Greenwood fire in 2021 and the response to the Camp House and Jenkins Creek fires just last year. Those fires were outside of our FM coverage range, but our updates were available through the streaming radio audio that is available at ktwh.org. on the web. The KTWH web stream means most anyone can listen to us on their smartphone as long as the data network is functioning. Our emergency plans include getting personnel to come on the air in emergencies that happen during the 7 or 8 hours daily that we may be off the air. We have a certified emergency alert system, encoder-decoder system, that broadcasts all alert messages that come to us through the state EAS system, through stations out of Duluth, as well as alerts that come to us through the national alerting system, through a system called CAP IPAWS. Our upgraded EAS unit was purchased with funds from Co-op Light and Power and Lake County. Our goal is to build a system that will stay on the air to get the word out about emergencies in real time during various scenarios that may affect our studio power, our transmitter site power, and even potential outages of the broadband and cell networks. There are a lot of ways that normal operations can get interrupted. We want to be prepared for most of those. Thank you, Leo. Now I get to give you a brief tutorial on how to operate your new radio. First of all, it comes with a complimentary antenna right on the back. On the left side is your on-off. When you turn it on, you get a little red dot. We're on the air right now. And that also controls your volume. On the right-hand side, there are 3 slots, one for the weather band, one for the FM, and one for AM. To find KTWH on the dial, the little red cursor goes about the middle of the 1 on 102. And I want to tell you, in an emergency, this is where you want to be. You want to be tuned to KTWH because we will be your best resource for information that is accurate and up to date. The TV stations are great, the other radio stations, but they have to cover all the other communities. And you may not have time to wait to find out what's happening in Two Harbors. You need that information now. We will provide you with that information. Great little device. They've already got batteries in them, so you're good to go. 99.5, that's where we are. Tune us in. Now, the cool thing about these radios, too, is that they work in emergencies, but they also work when it's not an emergency, which means you can listen to us anytime, all day long, and we would love for you to do that. As we are a volunteer-driven organization, we always need volunteers. Now, we do have one prerequisite for being a volunteer at the station, and that is that you have a heartbeat. Let's see by a show of hands. How many of you here have heartbeats? Oh, look at all the potential volunteers. You may think, I don't know anything about radio. What can I do? There's so much you can do. You can help us with event planning, with fundraising, with setting up for events such like this. All sorts of different things you can do, and we can train you to be on the air. It's a ton of fun with a lot of great people. We'd like for you to join us. Thank you.
Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Greg Ruberg. I'm the president of Aspirus Lakeview Hospital here in Two Harbors, and I support healthcare from Duluth up to Grand Marais and other parts of northeastern Minnesota. I'm here today as a property owner of St. Louis County. That's going to be my primary message. And going back to the Camp House fire of May of 2025. I've been through lots of training as a hospital administrator on emergency preparedness, emergency response, and all of the FEMA courses. But last year, I got to experience it firsthand as a property owner and a member of the community. And again, it was a great experience to see what our community can go through and does go through, and the amazing partnerships that are across Lake County, St. Louis County, and beyond. Camp House fire started May 11th, 2025. I was coming back from the Twin Cities when I received a phone call from my cousin who had property on the same road that I'm on. And his message was that his property had just burned, his mom's house was on fire, and the fire was headed directly toward our property. It was about 2 miles from the start of the fire is where our property starts. And I first want to go out by saying my heart goes out to all the community members up in Brimson and surrounding area who lost their primary residence, their animals, cars, everything else. A devastating fire. But we really want to highlight the amazing work of the Brimson Volunteer Fire Department, Two Harbors Fire Department, and all the other agencies that really stepped in to help, and I'll talk about that more. going back about a year before the fire, one of the Brimson Fire Department personnel told my wife it's not a matter of if a forest fire hits Brimson, it's a matter of when, and everybody should be preparing for that because of spruce budworm and all the other challenges there. And that stuck with me, that comment about what can you do to try to prevent a negative outcome, or at least position yourself the best that you can to have at least a neutral or favorable outcome. I started that year starting to do some of the principles of FireWise, and my talk will be really a commercial for the FireWise program, but also how that, in collaboration with a lot of state agencies working together, really can make a difference. So that day was a very odd May day. It was over 90 degrees, very dry, very gusty southwest winds. It felt like maybe a summer in Arizona, just surreal heat. And then when you saw the smoke and the fires, it was just something that I had never seen before. I never understood how a fire progressed like it did and what it burned, what it did not burn, all of that. So a very interesting experience. In terms of FireWise, what we did, and I'll be honest, part of my work around FireWise was stress reduction for being in healthcare leadership during challenging healthcare times. It was, part of it was going out and being physical, cutting trees, removing underbrush, clearing, kind of preparing. But what had ended up happening is the fire was a direct line toward our property. After burning structures on 2 other properties, it was coming right for us. It basically came right to our structures, went completely around, and then just kept going to the north and northeast. And it was amazing to be in there that first night to try to evacuate some stuff that I could. There were trees burning all around, but there was this kind of green circle of area that was really saved. And what people say is, do you think FireWise saved it? I don't think FireWise saved our property or structures. I think by preparing it as best we could with FireWise and then having heroic firefighters both on the ground, in the air, coordinating all the communications, I think that's the people that saved it. And again, I just think it was so big they could only save so many. As part of this, I've been researching fires and trying to better understand how decisions are made, how agencies come together. And I talked to one of the Chinook pilots, Earl Waters, for those that follow him on Facebook. I spent some time with him just trying to understand when he fights fires in different parts of the country. And what he says is it's pretty easy to make quick decisions about that property is worth trying to save. That one, there's no way we can save it. And if there's a big wood pile stacked along the side of the building, it's going to be really difficult. If there's trees overhanging, cedar shake roofs, those kind of things are difficult. So some great lessons, but I'll leave that to Steve. He's the expert on this, and we're going to have an opportunity to present on FireWise coming up next month. But what I want to end with is a sincere appreciation for everybody behind me on this stage that had a role in a very positive response, both Lake County, St. Louis County, to a very devastating event. And again, not only one fire, but 2 coming at each other. But I know, Diane, well-deserved recognition for you and your team, and what a difference you can make. The last thing I will say is, since that time, there's been amazing community support up in Brimson, from neighbors helping neighbors, people trying to support. I see there was rummage sales, there was volunteers were bringing things still to this day. And I was just up there yesterday to see kind of what it looked like a year post-fire. And things are starting to turn green, and Mother Nature is starting to kind of reclaim some of it. And I think we're, again, a lot of work, hard work still ahead of us in terms of rebuilding neighbors. But again, I keep thinking about, as a hospital leader, we can't do it alone. We need all these community partnerships and support of each other. So thank you to everybody that serves as first responders and volunteers.
Okay, my name is Diane Dickey. I am currently the Assistant Chief of the Brimson Fire Department. I've been on the department about 25 years. It's kind of emotional when somebody brings up the fire. But when I got asked to be part of this event, I thought, well, okay, emergency preparedness. Were we prepared? Were we prepared as a fire department? Were we prepared as a community? And then how those 2 things work together. Okay, as a fire department, yes, we train on wildland fire every year. Several trainings. We've worked with our colleagues in federal side, state, county. We've been involved in fire. We've been involved in prescribed burn. Were we prepared for a type 1 national wildland fire ripping through our backyard, burning down our friends' and neighbors' homes, cabins? Heck no. We're a small department. We've got a lot of notoriety lately because we were unlucky enough to have that event. And what everybody says up here is so true. It has brought our community together in so many great ways. But the other thing that has brought our community and fire department together is the FireWise program. Now, it's the bomb. It's just it. It's very well thought out, and there's tons of information about it. You've seen a lot of it out there on the tables. You've got some FireWise gurus here. Gloria Erickson, I've been working with her for like 10 years in Brimson, just really bringing the word to the community. And then you got Steve Van Kekricks, who's going to be your Lake County FireWise guru, and that's just awesome. And I'm not going to go into a lot of that, but I will say, as Greg said, FireWise is a continuum, and it's all about neighbors, helping neighbors. We have got some fantastic, Ken was out there, Ken and Bonnie Swanson are our ambassadors, and they will go around and go around your property with you without judgment. It's private, it's confidential. They'll help you figure out some things to start. And that's what you got to do. You just got to start. And if you help your neighbor, that's helping you. And, Michaela and Brimson Strong, they just found their jam. It's just been amazing in Brimson. So, yes, I want to stress community involvement and helping your neighbors like we do. We do it in all kinds of situations. And I also want to stress this whole idea of volunteerism. Many of us are kind of aging out of this thing. So, we all love the volunteers. And we need more volunteers. And we have to build a culture of volunteerism because I think we're at a new low. And with that, I want to just thank all the support we've gotten from Lake County, St. Louis County, all our community members, and really just nationwide. And thanks. Thank you very much.
Hi, I'm Steve Van Kekricks, and I work for Paramount Planning, and we are contractors for both Lake and Cook County with the FireWise programs there.
And I'm Gloria Erickson, and I work for a nonprofit called Dovetail Partners, and we have the contract with St. Louis County to manage their FireWise program.
So in Cook and Lake County, I work with FireWise communities, and in Cook County there are 8 communities, and in Lake County there are 4. And we use a FireWise grant from the DNR to help do some work in those communities. One of the things that's available throughout the county are level 2 FireWise assessments, where we can have a contractor come out and do an assessment at your private property, and then you'll get an email with recommendations of things that can be done to help improve.
I'm going to just say ditto in St. Louis County as part of it. I live in Ely, Minnesota, and I've been working with my surrounding community for about 15 years, and have had the privilege of being part of St. Louis County's FireWise program for 8. And I just want to say all of these folks here who kept mentioning the importance of partnerships, because I just want to say fire knows boundaries. We don't like to necessarily say, oh, I'm from St. Louis County, I got to stay on my side, or Steve's from Lake, he's got to stay on his side, because we know that we have to work together, not only with our agencies agency partners, but especially with you. When Smokey says only you can prevent wildfires, he's right, because 90% of our wildfires are caused by humans. And that's why I feel hope that we can do something about it. And it's all of us working together. And what Steve and I do is giving you the tools, empowering you as landowners and as communities on learning how some of the things that you can do around your property, and specifically the Firewise stuff, it doesn't cost a lot of money. And it doesn't take a lot of time. I know sometimes when you're looking at your dead balsam out there and you're going, oh, how am I going to do this? You know, we've got programs. That's what we're here for, is to connect you with the programs that can help you. But a key part that is really super easy is what you can do around your home, which this gentleman right here talked about that, how important that was. And it has to go hand in hand, not just cutting those dead balsam because they're ugly in a big fire, but it's around your home, and it's super easy, and it's helping each other, like Diane mentioned. It's, again, you know, getting out into your community, and that's what we do, is we help you. We, you know, do demonstrations, community demonstrations. We have barbecues. We get together, have a lot of fun, but also we help larger communities strategically planning, and if they need grant funding, we go after that too.
So we're doing a lot of grant writing, and we do have some funding in Lake County available to do some mitigation work up along the Fernberg. So if anybody lives up in that area and would like more information, stop by the booth or grab one of my cards and send me an email. But we do have some money that's available this year for doing mitigation projects up there. We've also applied for a grant to fund a renewal of the Lake County Community Wildfire Protection Plan. And we've made it through the first 3 rounds on that grant program, and right now it's in a NOAA review. So we're hoping to hear next summer, or later this summer, that we receive that funding, and we'll start an update of the plan that we have right now.
Yeah, and if any of you are in St. Louis County, we do have funding in the southeastern part of St. Louis County too, to do some mitigation. And another thing we do is we work with communities to do what we call a chipping haul-away, where neighbors are helping each other cut their dead balsam and stuff, and then that labor can be a match for us to be able to hire a contractor to be able to take it away. So, and we also do a lot of demonstrations on how to safely get rid of that debris as well. So we realize when we're asking you to cut your trees and you're going, well, what the heck can I do with them? We have options, and so we have workshops for that too. So
it looks like we're out of time, but stop by our booth if you would like more information.
Thanks, Kitty.
Thanks, you guys. Next, we're going to roll with a video from Michaela from Brimson Strong.
Hi everybody, my name is Michaela and this is Reba. This is our lone survivor. So the camp house fire came through and Reba was able to escape her coop. And through that, she got underneath a fire rig and decided to stay there and refused to leave. So the fire department did not want to leave her there. So what they did is they went underneath the fire rig and then crawled under there, grabbed her, and then handed her off to another firefighter. And so we got a phone call a few days later saying that somebody found a chicken and it was very close to our house. And alas, Reba. So after I heard that Reba was okay, I was able to connect up with her.
Here's Reba, everybody. She's a little cinched up, but good company.
And I didn't have a place to put her. And my communities came out and they surprised me with a brand new coop and 14 new baby chickens.
I'm not crying, you're crying. Oh my God, you guys.
So as I raised the chickens in my home, Reba had her own pen. So after that, I knew I was going to have to make a new pen for all of the chickens, and so I created this t-shirt to help support my building progress for a new coop. And after that, her story caught wind with the media, and she was able to raise so much more money than I ever could have imagined. So through that, I saw my community struggling, and I created a nonprofit and built her a new coop. Now for my story. As you can see, here is a map of when the fire started and the progression of where my house was compared to the fire around it. It's incredible what you can do with multiple people. I always say there is power in numbers, and that, yes, I might be the one that is hitting this head on, but I could not do this alone. It takes a community to make a difference, and people make a difference. It could be as little as a donation, something that you don't need anymore that you donated, or it could be that you took your afternoon off and cleaned up somebody else's property when there was nothing left there. There were so many homes that I can tell you that there wasn't a single item left. Whatever they did not take was gone. So that's why safety preparedness is so important. I myself have a background in firefighting, so I've always had this thing in the back of my mind, is that all of my important paperwork goes in one area. And I am so thankful, because if I would have lost my place, I would have had everything I needed in that box. But unfortunately, that was not the case for many others. I can't tell you how many countless people say, I forgot my social security card, I forgot my birth certificate, I don't have my marriage license. So many of those conversations happened, and I want people to really think about this. I never thought a fire would come through my property and almost take it. I have not been here long. I have been here 3 years and have poured every ounce of myself into this home. So it's one of those things where it's never going to happen to me, but it did. And I feel so awful that people were not prepared. So I want people to be aware that this is a very real thing and that this could happen to you. There is not enough time to think, there's enough time to act. And thank God that we acted fast enough and we did not get stuck back here, because I would have not maybe been here today to present this. When I say this was a near-death experience for me, it was. And that's why I have so much passion behind this project, is because it's not just for me, it's for my neighbors, it's for my community. As I sit here at almost the 1-year mark for our community and this fire, I can't tell you how incredibly strong the residents are here in Brimson. I am so thankful to be a part of this community, and that their attitudes towards this whole situation has been nothing but positive. Is even though they lost everything, their attitude is to push forward and they want to remain here, which is such an amazing feeling. My only tip for moving forward here is please be prepared. Please consider FireWise, and please be kind to people, and please donate your time. Something as little as one afternoon to you can make a world of a difference for somebody else. Like I said, there is power in numbers, and your choices make an impact on people around you. I want to thank you everybody for listening to my story. And now for the exciting part. This is Michaela and Reba signing off.
Pretty cute. On May 30th, there's a pancake breakfast fundraiser with Brimson Strong. We have one more speaker. Go ahead, Brett Pence. And when Brett finishes, I'll take any questions from the crowd.
Thank you. Hi, my name is Brett Pence. I'm the Northern Minnesota staff person for a nonprofit called Minnesota Interfaith Power and Light. We're an environmental nonprofit, and so I might seem like a bit of a strange duck on this stage, but I can tell you that it's a nonprofit that's made up of, foundationally, of faith communities across the state interested in the issue of climate change in particular. And part of what we've done with them in the past and continue to do is to work with them to bring their voices into that discussion wherever it's happening, and also to bring them action pathways back to them. Some of that's organizing, some of that's policy work, but some of that is, unusually maybe for an organization like ours, is on the practical side. And it's often on the practical side where we have the best discussions, and often where we hear the most from them, whether that be how they pay their power bills or the reality of having to deal with something tragic like what happened in Brimson. So there are other communities around the state that they may be impacted by floods. I was in Duluth in 2012 during that particular flood. There are other, we're all dealing with smoke, and we're all dealing with other kinds of impacts at this point. And that's what we have been hearing particularly over the last 5 years, increasingly from our faith communities that already give services to the communities that they live in. And they were concerned about how do we continue to provide those services and others in a time of great need, like a fire. And so we decided we needed to lean into that. So we have a program called Community Resilience Hubs. We've been doing that for about 5 years now. We really leaned into it, particularly the last 2 years. And that's made up of 3 things. We have a kind of a webinar series that anyone can clue into on Zoom. You can see that at our table out there. We try to get a bunch of state resources in one place so that we can have a kind of a central spot where community groups or faith communities can learn about some of the resources that were talked about up here today. And then also technical resources if they want to make improvements on their property or however they want to do that. And then we also have a group that we'll take through called a Community of Practice. And we do that on a yearly basis. We're just finishing our first group now of 10 communities around the state. They commit with us to learn about all kinds of things, but in terms of resilience, we kind of look at it in a way of it should be ground up the way we're doing it. We should understand what a particular community needs and meet them where they're at. So it's individually tailored, and then we provide some outside kind of resources and curriculum around what resiliency is from the perspective of emergency management services and other things. So it's also connecting those groups to the great emergency services that exist. There's this vast network, and we're trying to get flowers that raise up and kind of blossom and then try to reach those services. And so we do those interconnections as well. And then we try to provide technical assistance, and that can be finding them grants to do. They make a plan at the end of this training, and then they decide what resilience is going to mean for them and how they're going to get there. But they need help along the way. So they need financial resources. They need technical resources about what they can do to a building. They need other kinds of planning about how they organize within a neighborhood or within their own faith community. So those are kind of things that we're working on. We have 2 churches in Duluth now that have the first solar batteries in the state in a faith community. So those are now little islands when the grid goes down, and they can continue to provide the services and maybe different services than they have in the past, in an emergency situation. If you're interested in that, if you're a part of a community that thinks that could be interesting to your community, come see me at the table. We'll have a second group of communities that we'll start through training in the fall. Thanks for being here. It's an honor.
Brett, don't leave the microphone. I have a question for you. I have a question for Brett. Go back to. So we're in the questions now, and I'll just ask one for Brett to start with. Can you say a little bit more, Brett, about the name of your organization? Do I have to belong to a church to work with you around community resilience?
No. We're a nonprofit in the state. I'd say our foundational, how many people come to us is through a congregation. We have many members or people that are just interested in these kind of services that come to us, and we just work with them on an individual basis or with a community group. We have our 10 community groups that we're working with right now in our community of practice. 2 of them are just like a community center in a place. You could think of it like a township hall or something like that, where a group of individual neighbors within that place was interested. So, yeah, good question.
Thank you, Brett. Before I ask for a question from the audience, will you please give these people on the stage a round of applause? Thank you so much for being here and doing that. I'm seeing a reminder on the screen. If you filled out the exit survey already, you're going to be able to be in a drawing for one of these wonderful prizes. If you haven't filled out the survey, please stop on the way out. Make sure you do that. Who has a question? Does anybody want to ask a question of someone on the stage or anyone in the room? Oh, good. We have a hot one over here.
I just always want to know if, people in town, it seems like there's town and then there's rural. And if you're rural, then you have all this Firewise and you have community. And I always, as a townie, I want to hear, are people in Brimson going to be, are these families getting together to work on someone's property? Are we allowed to know about that? Are we allowed to help? I just wonder about breaking down the rural and then town barrier in some way. And also, what townies can do. We don't have the same properties, but surely we can do things too.
Thank you. Who wants to take that? Who wants to jump up to the mic? Who feels like they want to?
Are you asking how town people can come out to Brimson and help?
Yeah, that's what she's asking. How do we connect between the rural and the in-town divide so that we can communicate our needs?
I think.
Yeah. Take it down and pass it down. Sure. There you go.
I love that because really people in Brimson are helping each other for sure, but we may be getting a little crispy on it. And I think Michaela and Brimson Strong is kind of the perhaps clearinghouse for this, but it's something I think many of us feel very passionate about because there's so many people from, the townies or whatever that are friends of Brimson who, like hanging out in Brimson. And Brimson, come on, it's a state of mind. Just come there and see for yourself. So I just think Brimson Strong is perhaps the way to start there, and maybe something else will blossom from it.
And I just want to say, being a townie, you still can do a lot around your property. And so definitely stop by our table. The key thing that you need to focus on is more what we call home hardening and really looking at your structure and how you're maintaining it, and definitely that 0 to 5 feet. So as a townie, there's a lot you can do around your property and how you can help each other too. So yeah, we're all in it together.
Down here.
Thank you. I'm going to take it a little step further, and we talked about readiness of everybody. If you're ready, you're more willing to help those that need the help. And if you're ready at home and you're an emergency response capability, you're more able to respond to your community also. So there's a lot that can be done on that readiness part. One of the other things that I just want to share from a whole community perspective, and I'm going to specifically talk about Lake Superior School District. We're working with Gina right now on how we can build that relationships and build upon those, because what happens at the school impacts the entire community. For us, the entire county. And what happens in the entire county impacts the school. So there's going to be lots of opportunities for people to jump in if you're capable and willing. So thank you. Great question.
Thank you. Another question from the crowd? I see a hand. Let's see how good I am at hustling down the row. Is that you, Roger? All right.
Thank you, Kitty. Maybe more of a statement and a question together. I know you, the nonprofits, they get funding from different organizations, and the fire departments, when they go out to fight a fire on a scale as large as the Brimson complex, do you ever, and I did talk to the deputy chief a little bit about this, how you guys work together to get reimbursed, and at being part of the state program, is there any gaps that you see that maybe perhaps as elected officials we can help move along in the future if there is shortages or if everything got replaced? I know the incident command is the best, and I truly believe in it, and it helps get everyone whole again, but is there any way that if you have issues that the state or the agencies around here, the Forest Service, the DNR, can help?
Thank you, Roger. There's a lot in that. Warren, you start.
There is, and there's a lot of moving parts into that too, because when you start talking local feds, volunteers, state level, again, a lot of moving parts in that. It's a great question. Unfortunately, I can't give you a lot from a Lake County perspective, being in the job just under 9 months. And hopefully I won't have to go to that route. But someone brought up a great comment. It's not a matter of if, it's when in Lake County. Especially we're 88% forced, it's just a matter of time. But one of the things that I think needs to be as part of that partnership and part of education too, at all levels. From fire departments, fire chiefs, volunteers, nonprofits, county, state, and ensuring those partnerships are all there and we can talk together, I think is probably the biggest part of that. For gaps, I will keep my eye on that for you, and I will make sure that I work it up the proper chain.
Is there anyone else on the stage that wants to respond to that question? Nope. Do I see a hand? Oh, Natalie.
My question is with seniors. The aging population is at the highest for Greater Minnesota right now that it's been, and the baby boomers are turning 80. So my question is, when I was at one of the booths, there was a scan to let the fire department know, your address and all that kind of information, so you kind of know the clearance, the size of the driveway, getting in for emergency vehicles. I'm wondering if we're getting information on, who has a wheelchair, who's assistive one, because now more and more people are living at home longer. Is that being considered to get neighbors to know that data? So if you're responding to help somebody in Greater Minnesota, what's their transfer status so that you're prepared? Because when you have minutes, and like what Michaela was saying was so true in that scenario, but I see more and more aging people living at home. And in those situations, there might not be somebody that knows exactly how to lift somebody or assist them and to be prepared as neighbors or first responders in these emergencies. I was curious about that. If somebody could respond to that, thanks.
I can still start from the healthcare perspective. And again, this is really limited to our own patients. But as we look at population health initiatives across Lake County at the hospital, we partner with public health on a number of different initiatives, and it's been a wonderful partnership. I do think there's a lot of opportunity for us as healthcare providers to really find a way to make those connections. We know patients that have transportation challenges that can't get into our hospital or our clinic. We have providers going out to their homes. We've gone to Brimson to do home visits for people that can't make it in. But I think we probably fall short on what if there's a forest fire. We think they're going to evacuate and they can't. We can't share that information now as broadly as we probably should. But after the fire, it was one of my thoughts as I was, as a community member, watching this transpire and really watch all of these agencies working together, which felt like an insurmountable task to try to get control of this. Then in the back of my mind, at work, we're putting together our incident response plans, should there be any loss of life or injury, which fortunately there was not. But I think there's opportunity for us to do a better job there to connect at least from a healthcare standpoint.
Thank you for highlighting that, Natalie. She stole my question. And Greg, I really like how you're pointing out the need for improvement. Who else on the panel would like to talk about, we're the oldest county in the state, aren't we? And rapidly getting older. So how are we contending with people with mobility issues to be able to evacuate? Go ahead.
Well, I look at it from, of course, our rural fire department EMS perspective, and over 90% of our calls are EMS. That's primarily what we do. Amongst our members of our fire department, we know many of the people in our community. But that's not the answer to this question. I don't have a great answer, but it's going to come through dispatch. And, dispatch is going to tell us what kind of mobility. What? Is there something going on? Oh. Is going to tell us what kind of issues we need to address when we get to an emergency. So we're prepared for that. As an EMS service, we have ways to transport people, but that's our small town fire EMS service. It may not be the best answer, but it's the answer for us.
Louise wants to jump in here for a second.
Yeah, go ahead.
I don't know what the status of it is now, but a few years back when I worked at St. Louis County, there was a program where patients who were dependent on needing assistance to get out, dependent on a machine that kept them alive, that was recorded through a system ahead of time so that when there was an emergency, you knew, like Brimson, you oftentimes do know, but in many areas, you're not going to know. And so individuals could be encouraged to register their confidential information, but then they were priorities for rescue, in many different kinds. And I know that was a state program, maybe also a county program, but it would be really important to find out what is available and how could that be done in a confidential way so that in an emergency, all of the responders would have the correct information.
Wonderful. It sounds like something we need to implement here in Lake County. I want to let Gloria respond first.
I just want to say, again, from a rural perspective, like Diane referred to, my local volunteer fire departments, my local EMS people are going to know their community. And it is a matter of confidentiality, and I love what you were talking about. And again, my emergency management people are here from St. Louis County, so I'm not sure if that's still, in place. But I know that one of my communities, Eagles Nest Township, they have taken it upon themselves where they have what they call road ambassadors. And there are, one person from the road that has the responsibility of, there's 20 people on the road, and each neighbor watches each other, meaning it's usually the neighbor on the left or the neighbor on the right. And their responsibility is to make sure that neighbor is out in an emergency situation. Also, my fire department there, they do know people in their community that do need extra help. But again, it's a case by case on each township on what they have available. But that is an example from one of my townships that to me just blows my mind on how they're helping each other, and they do know those people that need extra help. So that's one way to deal with it on in a smaller community.
Getting more connected. 1 second, Warren. I'm gonna hold on.
I just picked up something today that I'm going to do. This is my LS community guide that I got from the fire department out here on the table, that I can go to the computer and I can put all my information in how many people in my house, do they need help, any pets, all that kind of stuff. So if the fire department, Two Harbors Fire Department is coming to my house, they have this information on file. I'd never heard of this before, so we need to get word out about this, but this is great.
That's wonderful. I'm going to write an article about that. Warren, you had something?
That's a great article. Thanks, Kitty, for running that one. But going back to the other comment and tying it to the question, public health does have access to all that information if the people have loaded up within the state system. And that's our go-to from a county perspective is our public health team. And again, that's why I want to use the word team as part of that, because not one agency can do it alone. So for example, and I'm going to bring in St. Louis County a little bit, when that explosion happened in Hermantown, it was a team effort. And I don't know if they're still back there. I think he's back there. There was already members within the response that started a sheltering location, stood that up right away. And then members of public health was part of that, the Red Cross, emergency management, the fire departments. So it's not one agency, it's a team effort. And the other thing I want to add, and I'm going to throw this out as another hook for signing up for Lake County emergency alerts, there's sections in there also that you can self-identify if you have special needs, special response, medical assistance or oxygen type things in there. And that is all voluntary, but that's another way of a tool for us to ensure that the responders, we can get the word out to them. So
Thank you.
Great questions.
I know also on your county GIS, if you were to put a layer that only certain people have access to that confidentiality, all that information could be on a GIS layer where you pull it up in a fire scene. And again, between all the different agencies that, with this new one that the city has, when it's all together on that level, on that layer, someone should be able to see it for this type of an emergency, because everyone is correct. It's not a matter of if, it's a matter of when we're going to have this event again. And hopefully we'll be really prepared. I mean, I'm not saying we weren't before, we were, but this would be nice to have another level.
Do you want to respond?
I just want to add to that one.
Yep.
We're working on a GIS for emergency response right now that will have a ton of layers on it. For example, roads being washed out, just something we talked about over the weekend, and how we can have that overlay on there, where the fire responses are, where critical infrastructure, pipelines, power lines, and everything else, and have multiple layers that we can turn on and off, both to the public and both internally. So that is a great idea, and we're working on that, and hopefully as we continue to move on and have that tool more available across the county.
Hi, Jenna Udenberg, founder of Above and Beyond with You. And some of my question and kind of a PSA would be, in disability community and culture, we have the saying, nothing about us without us. And so I would really love to throw my nonprofit under the bus at this moment to say, include us, right? So in your planning and in all of the things, one of the things that came out in conversations Kitty and I had after and during the Brimson fire was, where are these evacuation spaces? Can you get people in the door? Not only can we get in the door, but are the bathrooms accessible? Are the cots accessible? Are the long-term living situations accessible? As the daughter of a father that uses a mobility device and on full-time oxygen, every time there's a potential for a power outage, I'm concerned, right? As a former educator in this very building, and knowing that there is different emergency things that happen here, and where we come, as Katya said, as a townie, I am concerned about people that are outliers. I am concerned about the fact that disability community is much larger, right? We have children with disabilities, we have young people with disabilities, we have many assisted livings, we have many multiple layer buildings, high rises in our community. And as someone who's very connected and connects with Mr. Schlungen every fall to say, hey Mark, and he goes, yep, Jenna, I know your apartment number, we're good. But not everybody is. Not everybody is connected as I am. Not everybody is as proactive as I am. And I love, Mr. LaPlante, what you said about communication. And I would love to work together to make sure that communication is in all varieties of needs, and not just on certain veins, right? But that we get it out to all of the people that need this, but also let us be a part of this process in the planning and the execution and in the evaluation of how this can all work together.
I know we spoke earlier. Come and see me again afterwards. So thank you.
Is there anyone else that wants to respond to Jenna's comments on the stage right now? Thank you. What else? Do we have other questions or comments that people want to? Oh, here we have one.
So I have a question that does not involve wildfires. And the obvious answer is that tsunamis are not a risk here. But I'm just kind of curious, is it possible we have this giant lake opposite of all these forests? And yeah, what are the chances? And what would we do if a tsunami strikes?
It's kind of a fair question. I mean, we have a Seiche effect. I guess I don't know who to ask that question of. I myself have wondered if we could see severe flooding from the lake rising. I think I figured out, no, we can't. But go ahead, Warren, you got something to say?
I guess I'll jump on it from an all hazards perspective. We plan and prepare for all that from an all hazards. Now, tsunami, really low on our priority list. And we do have, where we run a hazard, kind of a risk hazard analysis. And wildfire is our number one high risk. And then it goes into winter storms and ice storms and wind, it just keeps going down. Tsunami will be low. Now, the big Ichigumi, she can throw up 30-foot waves pretty quick. And luckily for us, we have a lot of nice shoreline and rocks that will help it from coming ashore. So I would probably say we can still look at that and we won't rule it out. I would probably say we're more apt for an earthquake which would cause a tsunami. But flooding, yep.
Flooding. There's plenty. We could start making a list of disasters, and they're likely.
I have a list.
He has a list.
Want to take a look at it?
That's good.
In fact, if you want to see the list, see me afterwards. I have them in
Nice.
our hazard mitigation plan.
I like that. More questions or comments from anyone in the audience right now? You've been a wonderful audience. Is there anyone on the stage who wants to have a last say? We can pass the microphone if you have something that you wanted to address. Oh, go ahead, Greg.
I would just do one final comment. I would strongly encourage you to check out Firewise, whether you live in the city, in the county. I mean, it clearly works. I think I've got pictures that show it. It's pretty unbelievable. Again, in combination with a bunch of really strong, valuable partners to do it. So I just want to end with that for me.
Thank you. Thank you to the Mortensen Family Foundation for the grant that helped make this possible, the first of what I hope are many conversations, so that we're not just preparing for a disruption, but that we're all the time talking about our needs as a community and connecting around what that might look like, what we think is best for us, right? Thank you to Lake County Emergency Management. Thank you, Warren, and all the people from KTWH who helped create this event for all of you as well. Thanks for showing up today, and that's all I got. Thanks very much for coming. Let's give these guys a hand.